Hey everybody. Oh my God. I just had the hardest time trying to figure this out. How to go live. It's kind of frustrating. So sorry if you showed up and I was not here. Turns out you have to give a title and a description, which I did not do prior to just logging on. So, at any rate, today I'm going to talk about the psychology behind fights and what to do about it. So, there's actually a whole process that leads up to how and why we wind up getting into these really highly charged situations with people that we love. And you can sometimes look back on a fight and wonder, well, why did I even get upset? It wasn't even that big of a deal. How did it get that out of control? And the reason fights often get that out of control is because it's a whole process of inner reflection, right? So it starts with self-awareness. Self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-alignment, really self-love, which is what love therapy is about. And when we're not in the habit of self-reflecting, when we're not in the habit of knowing when our inner being is trying to get our attention, when we're not in the habit of listening to those deeper messages from ourself, then we miss them. And and now I'm having a bad internet connection. Um, so, getting into the habit of identifying what's going on and how to listen on those deeper levels to yourself is the way to get out of it. So, the whole process is it starts with self awareness, and oftentimes I see that people don't have that self awareness, right? So we don't even know when our boundaries are getting crossed, and somebody can do something, and maybe there's a vague awareness that it didn't feel good, or you recognize maybe way after the fact that something happened that didn't feel good, and and that can then build up internally so that those things that tend to happen on and on and on build up. And sorry, I'm going to put on my glasses here. But so when we are not paying attention, those inner wrongs, they build up, and it becomes like an internal pressure cooker. So where those things that have happened that we're not happy with pile up one after another, after another, after another. And then all of a sudden, your partner or somebody that you're close to does something really benign, like just leave a spoon on the kitchen counter, and you are just fed up. It's way too much. And you're overwhelmed, and then it all comes tumbling out. And now you're talking about things that happened 3 months ago. And so it's important to be in the process of continuous self reflection. And when you are, then you start to notice those things before they pile up. And here's a question. A lot of couples are carrying stress from work, family, finances, and that tension can quietly disconnect partners over time. How do you start to release that stress so love and connection can rebuild? And that's a really important point, that there are sometimes other things, right? So it's not just your own internal stress in the relationship or missed signals from your inner being. Sometimes it's external stress that is just piled up, piled up, piled up. And really, the answer to that is the same answer to the stress that's happening within the relationship, in that when things are happening and you're just kind of trying to get by, trying to, you know, look at the bright side of things, trying to not let things bother you, trying to be the better person, trying to be cooperative, be loving, and maybe even telling yourself it's not that big of a deal, so I'm just gonna ignore it. I really shouldn't be saying anything about it. Um, and so you don't. Then those things pile up internally. It's like a pressure cooker. And then you wind up exploding and it turns into a fight. So, a good way to head that off in a tool that I give my clients, and it's a very simple tool but super powerful, is a body scan. So, if you make a commitment to yourself to do body scans, set an alarm in your phone to go off twice a day. And in that alarm, you know, in that moment when the alarm alerts you, you just quickly notice. And do that now with me as you're watching. Just kind of look inward and notice what you might be feeling in your body, in your jaw, your neck, your shoulders, your arms, your chest, your stomach, sometimes fists. Me, I'm a jaw clencher. Maybe rapid heartbeat, shortened breath, shakiness, sweatiness, legs are tense. Sometimes people feel it in their feet. These are all indicators that there's something else going on. And the more you get into the habit of noticing it, not diving in and getting stuck there. You know, a lot of people don't like to notice because they don't want to get stuck. You don't have to get stuck. You just notice, recognize, and then become solution oriented. So here's another question. What are some early warning signs that stress is showing up in a relationship? Maybe before partners even realize it's affecting them. You know, again, it kind of goes back to self and recognizing what you might be feeling in your body, because your body will tell you first. And kind of reflecting on those systems that I just kind of went through. Clenching jaw, you know, making fists, finding yourself just really tensing up, shoulders tense. We tend to close off when we're having stress. So that closed off feeling is an indicator that there's something going on, that there's something it would be good to address, and something that it would be good to reflect on with a solution-oriented mindset. That's the key. Solution-oriented mindset. Not getting stuck in the hopeful pit of despair, but looking at the specifics of what happened that made you feel anything other than neutral or good, with the mindset of trying to find the solutions and then offering the solutions to your partner or your colleague or your child or your family member, anyone really. You offer that solution as a gift. And it's really honestly magical when I watch this in my couples therapy sessions. When something comes up and I hear one or the other partner saying, well, this happened and it made me feel terrible and you always do this, and that's the frame we tend to come from. We're taught to communicate in that way. We're taught to communicate from the frame that what you're doing is hurting me, what you're doing is wrong, what you're doing is bad, I don't like it. And on the receiving end of that, it feels bad. It does not feel good. So we tend to be reactive. It tends to be those kind of communications tend to really get off track and create a fight. Because when you're being told all the wrong things, all the bad things you're doing, it makes you kind of go, well, what do you like about me? Why are you even with me? And then we become reactive, or shut down. So really being aware, that being in that place of self-awareness, making that resolution, that commitment to yourself and to each other, to continually do body scans, because it's really simple, but it's super powerful. When you start to get into the habit of noticing what's going on in your body will tell you before you get upset. Your body will tell you when there are small things that need your attention. And when you notice, it's a really clear, very step-by-step process that can really help you overcome overcome the fights. Where you recognize what's going on in the body, you start to head it off. You make a commitment to get out ahead of it. Viktor Frankl, he has a beautiful quote. I love this quote. I often offer this quote to my clients. The only freedom we have is in that space, and it's a very small space, but it's there, it exists. Most of us aren't even aware that it exists, but in that space between stimulus and response. So in other words, in the space in between something that's happening and how you react to it. In between, that's our freedom. When partners have drifted apart, what does rebuilding actually look like in therapy or at home? What small, consistent actions make the biggest differences? Again, body scan. Super simple and super powerful, because when you start to recognize, again, when your body is reacting, then you can make an agreement with one another. You make an agreement with your partner that if either one of you is emotionally activated, it is not the time to try and talk about it. Because what happens is, and here's the science and the psychology of it, even backing up before nervous system is your perception. Your perceptions are based on your long-term memory, everything that you have learned, which is most of the time from childhood. That gets stored in your long-term memory banks. Long-term memory that is programmed in. We don't even think about that stuff anymore. We don't think when you walk into a room, oh, that's a couch. Couches are meant to sit on. I'm going to sit down on that couch. All that is handled by your unconscious. The same parts of your brain that handle your heart and your breathing and all of the unconscious systems that keep you alive. Because our conscious mind is actually very small. There's not a lot of space in the conscious mind. So what we do is we actually delete out like 90% of what's going on around us. And then we store our memories, and then we're reflecting back on our past experiences and then filling back in our current experience with our past experiences. And that's where traumas can become really problematic, because trauma experience, it causes us to really interpret the world in a very different light, in a light that's can become harmful to us. And can also distort the reality of what's happening in the moment. So when we're interacting with our partner and they say, hi, how you doing? In that way. If we had a lot of trauma as a child, we're going to go, uh-oh, we're about to get in trouble. And then we become reactive. That could cause a fight. Meanwhile, it may have been an experience that they had at work, or something that they have going on that's completely unrelated to you, but you're already gearing up for a fight, and that energy gets communicated, they react to it, and now you have a fight. And then the things that you haven't communicated because you wanted to be the better person, because you wanted to get over it, you didn't want to make waves, that all starts to come out. So the process of perception and reaction is we have programmed in beliefs in what things mean, and we interpret things. That's our perception. Our perception then causes an emotional reaction. The emotions affect our nervous system, sympathetic, parasympathetic. And when we are in an emotionally activated state, it's like sympathetic and parasympathetic are working counter to each other. It's like pressing the brakes and the gas at the same time in a car. And it just really throws your whole entire system off. And our center of decision making, the neocortex, it gets completely thrown off from that push-pull of the nervous system. And now we're not able to make constructive, positive decisions. And what do we wind up usually doing? We will do and say things that are actually counterproductive, that create more of what we don't want. So that's why the pause and making a commitment to yourself, making a commitment to your partner, making a commitment to everyone that you interact with, people at work, that if you feel emotionally activated and you start to become aware of that emotional activation from the body scans, so you make a commitment to yourself. If you have that emotional activation, take a deep breath. Do a heart-focused breath, where you just connect to your heart. You take a deep breath into your heart center. You make a commitment that you make a sincere attempt to shift your emotional state. And I like the concept of just shifting into inner ease, because ease is easy. We have a lot of associations to peace or love or gratitude, and for a long time I didn't even understand gratitude. So we, make that commitment, do the heart-focused breath. Bring your body back to a place of ease, because then you calm your nervous system, then you're able to think clearly and make positive, life-affirming decisions that are aligned with what you want, that are aligned with more connection and not more distance, which is what we tend to do when we're emotionally activated. We do and say things that actually push our partners more away. So get into that process. And this is a very powerful process. This is something that I teach with my clients all the time, and it works. Do your body scans. Make a commitment to yourself and to each other that if you're activated, not the time to try and talk about it. Come up with a word or a phrase that communicates, I love you, and I want to work through this with you. Just right now is not the time. It's really important to also, whoever is calling it, and I like to say call it with a word or a phrase. In my self-love and communication guide, I say monkey butt. It's funny, it changes the energy, it shifts the energy. Like, Tony Robbins, he had this one event where he called a woman up on stage, and she had a phobia of snakes, and he brought out a snake, and she started panicking, and he threw a glass of ice water in her face, and she went, ah, she totally freaked out. But guess what? He shifted her emotional state, and then it broke that phobia. So shifting emotional state is good, and that's why I like to use the word monkey butt for your word or phrase, or whatever works. Some of my couples like ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian ritual for forgiveness, and it means I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And there's a really fascinating story behind that but I won't go into that now. Look it up online, or if you are curious about it, drop it in the questions here. So I got a late start today, and usually I will end at the half hour. I went a little over because of my technical difficulties. Hopefully next time I will be on time. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap it for today. And if you're watching this after the fact, I'd love to hear from you. What are some things that you do that help relieve the tension in your arguments, or to get past the arguments, or to be self-aware? I'd love to hear from you. If you have any other questions, please, send them. I'd love to address any questions in an upcoming live. And oh, by the way, I'm going to be doing these lives every second and fourth Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific. So hopefully we're going to develop a little bit more consistency with this, and look forward to talking to you. Here we go. If I could leave couples with one key takeaway about releasing stress and reigniting love, what would it be? Well, one key takeaway, I'll give you several, but they're simple. Again, body scans. I can't stress how important that is, to really start to get to know your body and when your body is reacting. Because when your body's reacting and you're not aware of it, it causes us to do and say things that are super destructive. And a really good tool for stress relief is the heart-focused breath. And you can Google it, or search on YouTube. There are lots of great videos on heart-focused breath on YouTube. It's powerful. And then for reigniting the love and reconnecting is, the more aware of yourself and your own body you are, the more sensitive you are going to be to your partner. And sensitivity on a non-linear, non-intelligent, non-conscious level, which it goes more into the realm of intuition and body sensation, emotion. When you're sensitive to yourself, your body gives you that intuition, gives you that sensitivity to everything else and everyone else. So that's, again, back to body scans. So that's it for now. Love you guys. Hope to see you again. Sorry I was late. Hopefully I'm going to get this thing figured out, and I am going to. So tune in next time. I'll be one more live on November 1st, which is another Saturday, I believe. Let me see. I think it's Saturday, November 1st. At 10 a.m. again. Yep. So in 2 weeks at 10 a.m. I will be live again. And then after that, we'll be going live every second and fourth Saturday. So I'll be doing a pre-Thanksgiving live. Bring your family gathering questions. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. Take care. Love you. Bye. Love you. Bye. Now, how do I end it?